see my hands all right? Is it recording?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Zach Blackburn. Welcome to Flexography. We're going to install a plate this time. So we're going to need a couple things. I've got this device here. I call it the plate shaft. And there's a couple things that we need to do before we install it. So this little screw right here is what locks it into place. So I want it, and that sounds weird, it's a little backwards, but I'm actually going to twist it in. I want to twist it in. The next thing is we got this knob that turns. So that right there is the side-to-side adjustment for the plate. So if I want to move the plate to either side, that's the knob I turn. So because I want to be able to move it in both directions to get it lined up properly, I want to put it in the middle. And then that way I can, once it's installed, I can move it in both directions. Alright, so I got that. I'm going to take it. I've also got my plate here. Now the size of this plate, it's a smaller cylinder, and because it's a smaller cylinder, the shaft here is going to go in that last hole right there. If you're ever wondering about it, we've got a reference chart right here that tells you, but for right now, most of your projects are going to be on these smaller sizes, so it's going to be on that last hole right there. So I've got that. Now we also have our plate keys. Now our plate keys are what hold the plate on the shaft. So what I'm going to do here is, and you see how they tighten up when I twist them? Now it's nice and tight. So I'm gonna loosen it up, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to slide it onto the shaft. But before I do that, I'm going to turn the rollers off, just because I'm going to have my hands in here and that sort of thing. It's just easier if I turn the rollers off, and probably maybe a little safer. So I slide it up behind the gate, and I push the shaft through, and I push the key onto the shaft. Now I'm going to take my plate. Now my plate has a gear on one side. Gears always go away from you. They're always on that far side. The far side of the press is called the gear side. The close side of the press is called the operator side. So gears always go on that far side. Anyway, so I'm going to take it and I'm just going to push the shaft through the hole, and it's not letting it go. There we go. Alright. So I'm pushing it through. I had to wiggle it just a little bit to get it going. And you see how it's poking out the other end there? I'm going to take my other key, make sure it's loose, feed it back behind the gate, put it onto the shaft. So now I've got key, plate, key on the shaft. So now I'm going to, the way that it locks into place is that locking mechanism that I told you about earlier. Well, it lines up with the next hole, the next hole over here for the shaft. And I just slide it on in, just like so, and it goes through and it lines up with the other end. Now, if I move it around, you see my shaft moves, right? And I don't want that to happen. I want it locked into place. So I'm going to just, that little knob right there, I'm going to twist it outward. So going counterclockwise. And that's actually what locks it in place. I should feel it get snug. There we go. It's nice and snug. I give it a wiggle. It's not going anywhere. Alright, so next thing, so I got the shaft locked into place. Now, I want to get my plate where it needs to be. So the plate has a gear. This roller that's behind the paper is called the impression cylinder. It also has a gear. That gear is what drives the plate. And what I want to do is I just want to line this gear up with that gear, line it up. You see? And what I'm doing is I'm just using my fingers to pinch that key right up against the gear. And then I'm going to tighten it up. So I just lined up the center of this gear with the gear on the impression cylinder, pinched it together and tightened it. And what that did is it created a bump stop on that far end, on the gear side end. Now I've still got this loose end that's on the operator side. I'm just going to use my thumb and push it right up against the plate, tighten it up. And now my plate is not moving side to side. So that's how to install a plate. Now that I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and turn my rollers back on because we don't want to leave them just stopped with ink on them because they might dry up. So we want to make sure that if we turn the rollers off and they're wet, that we turn it back on. Okay? So that's how to install a plate.